Hello everybody, this is Johns Hopkins with Baltimore Heritage, and we're back with another of our 5-Minute Histories videos. And today I'm on a crazy little part of Cathedral Street right across from the Meyerhoff Symphony Hall in Mount Vernon, and behind me is a building that today is called the Anonymous. Back in the 1980s, it was a nightclub and music venue called Ethel's Place, named for Baltimore's jazz great Ethel Ennis. That's what we're going to talk about today. I am thrilled that today I'm going to be joined by Raynetta Wiggins Jackson, a curatorial fellow at Hopkins University who put together a fabulous exhibit on Ethel Ennis. And I'm thrilled that I'm going to be joined also by Earl Arnett, Ethel's husband. I'm going to be very quick and turn it over to them in just a second, but I have to just say a word that, of course, Baltimore has a rich legacy of musicians. In the pop and rock category, we've got people like Mama Cass and Frank Zappa, Tori Amos. In the rap category, we have Tupac Shakur and Drew Hill. In the classical musical category, we've got composer Philip Glass and violinist Hilary Hahn. And in the jazz category, almost too many to name, but Billie Holiday and Cab Calloway, Chick Webb, Cyrus Chestnut, and Ethel Ennis, often called the First Lady of Jazz. She was born in West Baltimore, spent most of her life here. She had an incredible 70-plus years of recording success with many acclaimed albums, world tours, and then making America sit up and listen with her a cappella version of the national anthem at Richard Nixon's second inaugural. I'm going to stop there and turn it over to Dr. Wiggins Jackson to say a word about the work that she's done putting together the exhibit. So Raynetta, we are all yours.
Hello, my name is Raynetta Wiggins Jackson. I am a curatorial fellow with Johns Hopkins. I'm working with the Sheridan Libraries and the Billie Holiday Center for Liberation Arts. And I have had the amazing pleasure of putting together Ethel's Place, an exhibition on Ethel Ennis that's at the George Peabody Library. So I'm going to share a little bit with you about Ethel Ennis and the great and wonderful impact that she had here in the city of Baltimore. She was born here in 1932. She encountered all kinds of musics. Church music was the music her family preferred her to experience. She got her first experiences playing music in church at the age of 13. She and her family attended Ames Memorial United Methodist Church. Then at the age of 15 is when she really kind of kicked in and was requested to perform as a pianist with Abe Riley's octet. So this is when her career starts to bubble. She is performing at spaces all over the city and into the county where they would maybe ask for her age. And this is with this group, she actually performs before a live audience as a singer for the first time. From there, she lands as kind of a home base at the Red Fox Lounge owned by George Fox. And he becomes a kind of manager for her. And he helps her record her first album, first few albums, and kind of leads her to what some would consider her big break, which was performing with the Benny Goodman Orchestra at the Brussels World Fair. She comes back from that in 1958, and she receives other recording contracts. She's performing on television, on radio. She is a rising star. However, this is the 60s by this time, and she's not necessarily content with the star life, the kind of track that they want her to be on. And so she makes a couple of major changes. One, she decides to walk away from the industry, not the music, but the industry. And two, she marries Earl Arnett, who's a Baltimore Sun reporter at the time. And you're going to hear from him just in a moment. So she and Earl settled down here in Baltimore, and Ethel builds a career based on her personal fulfillment and connecting with other people. She also becomes a cultural ambassador for Baltimore. She really loves Baltimore, traveling to places like Xiamen, China, and even the Netherlands, representing Baltimore. She would serve as a headliner for many local festivals and other opportunities where people could engage with music and art for free here in the city, like Artscape. Throughout her life, she received a lot of awards, including 2 honorary doctorates, Lifetime Achievement Awards, but I think one of her biggest awards was connecting with people and making music, which she did up into her 80s. Now, as I've said before, Ethel and Earl love Baltimore, and one of the greatest kind of offerings and things that they did to support the city was create Ethel's Place. So we're going to hear from Earl so he can talk about his story working with Ethel's Place.
Well, thanks, Raynetta. You did a great job explaining what Ethel and I were about. Ethel was a Baltimorean, born and raised in a row house, died in a row house. I am a transplanted, naturalized citizen of Baltimore. I'm an Army brat, so I came here in 1966. We got married in 1967 when in many parts of the country it was against the law. But we didn't care. We were in love, and so we created life together. Our vision of what Baltimore was about was Ethel's place. Now, right behind me is what is called Heptasoft Hall. On the third floor, you see a logo called IOH, International Order of Heptasofts. They were kind of like a mini Masonic order. They had a stage in there. They had an insurance company. Actually, Baltimore Center Stage started in this building. The last of the Heptasofts probably disappeared somewhere in the early 20th century. The city didn't know what to do with the building after it was abandoned, and a great theater impresario, Phil Arno, who started the Baltimore Theater Project, acquired the building from the city, and for a long time, in the 70s, it housed the Baltimore Theater Project. Well, Ethel and I were doing our thing. We hadn't thought about opening a music club or anything of the sort. Ethel used to sing down in Annapolis at the Maryland Inn, and this doctor came in one day and said, I have $1 million. I would like to establish something in Baltimore called Around Ethel. But we couldn't find a good place, and I came to this building, talked to my friend Phil, and he said, why not here? So on New Year's Eve in 1984, we took this renovated building. We knocked out a floor to create a cabaret space. We created a couple of restaurant spaces. We called it Ethel's Place. And the whole idea was to have a performance home for Ethel and a gathering place for people through the whole region. Ethel's Place didn't last too long, a little less than 4 years. But we brought world-famous musicians here, and there were wonderful musical moments. Just to give you an example of the kinds of moments we created, right here at the Meyerhoff, Yo-Yo Ma was performing. Well, we decided to have a champagne dinner after the concert where Yo-Yo and 5 or 6 other musicians walked across the street, sat on the stage at Ethel's Place with a glass of wine by the stage, and performed Mendelssohn's Octet. Well, we were able to do things like that. It was jazz-oriented, but we had folk music, bluegrass music, classical music on Sundays. And people like Dizzy Gillespie, who came to Ethel's more than once, said it was probably one of the best clubs that existed in the world. Well, it drove us nuts, and we sold it at a loss, but the building is still here. One can only hope that this building eventually will fulfill its promise. Hopefully, this place will blossom one day as the city blossoms.
May I look that far? My love is mellow, and my hopes are strong. Around a Cupid fellow, behold, the moon is yellow.